Hi, my name is SwanDezvous. If you're watching this video right now, uh, Hi, my name is SwanDezvous. If you're watching this video right now, this is part of my campaign to get my next project funded. I have a number of songs that I've been recording and writing over the course of the years. I am a local Oregon musician who's been making music since as far back as I remember. I am one of many in a family of musicians, and the project that I have coming out right now.
I didn't do that right.
By Afghan troops turning on their American partners is alarming. Mattis says he will present a strategy in mid-July. John?
Jennifer, thanks. Some Republicans are urging President Trump to spend more, a lot more, on national defense. One of those people is Wyoming freshman Congresswoman Liz Cheney. She and her father, the former vice president, are going public with their case. Brett Baer talks with Liz Cheney tonight.
John, thank you. Joining us now, Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney. She is the dean of the Wyoming delegation. There's only one representative.
It's an honor to be here and to have this be my first interview, my first national interview.
Wednesday, you wrote an op-ed with your father, Vice President Dick Cheney, in which you warn about defense spending. And you write in part, in short, the situation President Trump inherited is dire. America today faces an array of threats, more serious, more complex than at any time in the past 75 years. President Obama and his policies are largely to blame.
That's right. You know, sometimes when we're talking about the defense budget, you get into a situation where people are just talking numbers. And we felt it was really important to lay out the threat we face. This isn't just about, are you going to plus up defense? This is why do we need to do more, and why do we need to do more over the coming years, and why do we need to do things like repeal the Budget Control Act? And that's because America's adversaries have really used the last 8 years to build up their own defenses, in the case of the Russians and the Chinese, really targeting our capabilities, and in some instances developing weapon systems we might not be able to defend against. So we really, as a Congress, as a people, have got to look at this and say, what is it going to take to begin to rebuild our military and to undo the damage of the last 8 years?
President Trump's budget that was submitted to Congress has a 3% increase in military spending. You're saying that's nowhere near good enough.
Right. It's not anywhere close to sufficient. Both the House Armed Services Committee with Chairman Mac Thornberry, the Senate Armed Services Committee with McCain, they have both worked very diligently over the course of the last year to look at what is really necessary this year to begin to dig us out of the hole we're in. And that number is $640 billion in the base defense budget. When you look at the $603 billion number, we had Secretary Mattis and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs testify before us last week, and what's clear is that number is really a tread water number. It's a number that doesn't begin to get us back on the path, and the budget itself has really significant cuts in it in places that are very concerning. They cut $1 billion out of the Navy shipbuilding budget when the Chief of Naval Operations says we need a 355 ship Navy. This budget doesn't put us on that path. They cut $300 million out of missile defense, at a time when the North Koreans are very threatening and making alarming progress. It's the last thing we ought to be doing is cutting missile defense. So we really have to do more, and we've got to look at more based on what that is, what we need to purchase, not just sort of let's argue about the numbers.
You mentioned Secretary Mattis testifying. Here's part of that where he talks about Sequestration Control Act.
I retired from military service 3 months after sequestration took effect. 4 years later, I returned to the department, and I have been shocked by what I've seen about our readiness to fight. While nothing can compare to the heartache caused by the loss of our troops during these wars, no enemy in the field has done more to harm the combat readiness of our military than sequestration.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. Congress put the Budget Control Act and sequestration as part of that into place back in 2011.
Republicans and Democrats.
Absolutely. And it was an effort to try to, basically put together a list of cuts that would be so draconian that it would force members to come to agreement. In an effort to cut spending, an admirable effort to cut the size of the debt. Unfortunately, it has failed at those things. Instead, what it's done is really strangle the military. And partly that's because sequestration doesn't allow the military to say, what are the threats and what do we need to meet the threats? It just says, you've got to take a meat cleaver to the budget and cut arbitrarily 50% across the board.
But if you're Mick Mulvaney, the budget director, former congressman, they make the argument the money has to come from somewhere. And it can't all come from non-defense. So what about that argument? Where are you going to find the dollars?
Yeah, I mean, look, my perspective is there is nothing that we do as a government, it's nothing that we do as a Congress that is more important than the defense of the nation. It's our most sacred constitutional obligation, and we have to consider it first before we consider anything else. We can't be in a situation where, months from now, years from now, God forbid we're attacked, and our response as a Congress is, well, we couldn't build missile defense because we weren't willing to do what we needed to do on the domestic side. We've got to be in a situation where we say this is the most important thing we do. And look, I believe strongly we've got to get control of our spending and of our deficit, but none of the major things we're doing up on the Hill, whether you're talking about health care reform or tax reform or balanced budget, none of those things will matter if we don't get the resources to the military that they need. And so we have to look at it as a very different kind of a thing than anything else we spend money on.
Congresswoman Cheney, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Brett. It's a pleasure.
John, back to you.
Brett, thank you. A California court has dismissed most of the charges against journalists from the Center for Medical Progress who recorded undercover conversations with Planned Parenthood employees about selling fetal body parts. That is according to LifeNews.com. 14 of 15 criminal counts against David DeLayden and Sandra Merritt were dismissed.
Dismissed. Like, who cares? This is not a problem for us. We don't give a fuck. Comes with the territory. We're okay with abortion.
I'm Michael with Safe Flight.
Thanks for coming. It's right over here.
Giving you a few more minutes for what matters most.
Take care. Safe Flight Repair. Safe Flight Replace.
Pain can really be a distraction. Pain is sometimes in my hands, right before performance especially.
Only Aleve has the strength to stop minor arthritis pain for up to 12 hours with just one pill.
This is my pain, but I am stronger.
Aleve, all day strong.
People are stuck in very old habits of using toothpaste to clean a denture, but dentures are very different to real teeth. They're about 10 times softer and may have surface pores where bacteria can grow and multiply. Pollinate is specifically designed to clean dentures daily. Its unique microclean formula kills 99.99% of odor-causing bacteria and helps dissolve stains, cleaning in a better way than brushing with toothpaste. That's why dentists recommend Pollinate.
Pollinate. Cleaner, fresher, brighter every day. Searching for a hotel online is pretty much like this. Some deals fly right past you, and you'll never see them again. And some just don't fit. With Trivago, you're in charge. Simply choose what's important to you and find what you want. Trivago makes sure you see the deals you care about, so you can find your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
Do you know which investment could be your best performer this year? Stocks, real estate, bonds? None of the above. It's silver. This year, it's already up over 12%, and many experts say silver is set to soar to new record highs.
I think silver is going to $200 an ounce.
Call now to get this free report, The Case for $200 Silver, and learn about silver's huge upside potential.
If I could only invest in one thing, it'd be silver. Silver is running out. It's in short supply. It is one of the greatest investments you could have right now.
Call Lear Capital for your free report, The Case for $200 Silver. See why silver could skyrocket 50% this year, why financial experts and investment banks are hoarding silver at today's low price, and how silver can help protect your savings from global turmoil. Call today and get up to $600 in free silver. This offer ends soon. Call 1-800-927-2400. 1-800-927-2400.
Do you have bruised skin? You need Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Formula for mature skin. Dermend uses proven ingredients that help improve the appearance of bruises. Help your bruised skin. Get Dermend now at Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, and Rite Aid.
Do something. Oh, I'm not a security guard. I'm a security monitor.
Why monitor a problem if you don't fix it? LifeLock does more than free credit monitoring to help protect your identity. Join starting at $9.99 a month. Go to lifelock.com.
Obamacare is a disaster. It's dead, totally dead, and we're putting in a plan today that's going to be negotiated
The president said the Senate bill needed heart. The way this bill cuts health care is heartless.
No amount of 11th hour reality denying or buck passing by Democrats is going to change the fact that more Americans are going to get hurt unless we do something.
I want to get to yes. It's not enough just to pass a bill that has Obamacare repeal in the title. We've got to actually have legislation that fixes the underlying problem.
So there you hear the debate going on in the Senate now over the new health care bill, the framework of which was announced this morning. Let's bring on our panel now to discuss more about this and whether this thing can go anywhere. Jonah Goldberg is the senior editor at National Review, A.B. Stoddard, associate editor at Real Clear Politics, and Molly Hemingway, the senior editor at The Federalist. A.B., why don't you start us off tonight? Does this thing have a hope in passing? Because you've got a 52-48 split, and already you've got 4 Republican senators saying, you know, we're not too thrilled with this thing.
Right. Well, if you've watched Congress for a long time, you know that Mitch McConnell knew exactly what was going to happen the minute this was released. He's not surprised by these defections. I do actually believe that Senator Ted Cruz really does desperately want to get to yes, there can be some more wrangling a bit, but that could threaten the support of moderates on the other side of the Republican conference. Either way, they've decided internally that they need to get this monkey off their back. So they're going to bring it to the floor and hope that they can bring it down to 1 or 2 votes where they shame these people into opposing it and stopping the fulfillment of a 7-year promise. If that doesn't happen, they're going to walk away. They've lost too much time and too much momentum, and there's strong indications that they are going to get this through the Senate, and if they can, pass it back over to the House and try to get this dispensed with possibly before the July 4th recess. So they're in a huge rush, and it's intentional.
In addition to Ted Cruz, the other 3 senators who are against the bill right now, Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, and Rand Paul, who calls this Obamacare light. Let's listen, Jonah, to what Rand Paul said about it earlier today.
We cannot support the current bill. We're open to negotiation, but we want the bill to look more like a repeal. We're afraid that when we read the bill, that it actually looks like a reiteration or a keeping of Obamacare.
It looks, though, Jonah, like the Senate was trying to leave in place a lot of the provisions, or at least some of the provisions of Obamacare, particularly on subsidies, particularly on pre-existing conditions. Can they win over people like Rand Paul? Ted Cruz said he's open to discussion. He wants to get to yes.
It's hard for me to see how they win over Rand Paul. He says that the Senate version took out 2 of the dozen or so mandates, the regulations that he wanted out, and he says, somewhere between 2 and 12, maybe there's a compromise in there. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But I think this is the weird irony here. Is Chuck Schumer and all the Democrats insist that this is an outrageous and total repeal of Obamacare. And the conservatives, I think, much more rightly say, no, this is actually a scaling back of some of the Medicaid stuff. But for the most part, this leaves the structure of Obamacare in place. It really is Obamacare light. And I think the most telling thing that we saw today was that Mitch McConnell basically just dropped this thing like it was roadkill and said, it's your problem now. You guys figure out what you want to do with it. There was no messaging from Senate leadership about this is a great bill, this is a great way forward. He said, my work is done, and walked away. And I think that tells you something. He's setting this up for negotiation. I think that's right. But his heart's clearly not in it as a grand ideological matter.
Right. So Molly, Jonah believes that Rand Paul is not going to come on board this. But if you're Rand Paul, do you make the political calculation of, well, I hold my nose and I vote for this, or at least I try to negotiate up a little bit and get something a little better? Or do you vote against it, it fails, and you're stuck with Obamacare?
Right. It's an imperfect bill that comes out of an imperfect process. But when you think about what the option really is, you have a bill that gets rid of the individual mandate, gets rid of the employer mandate. A lot depends on what happens in the future, but it builds a case for getting rid of Obamacare structurally over the long term. If your option is that or nothing, that's actually not the worst option that you have. At the same time, it's a bill that does a little bit more in reaching out to the moderates than the House bill did, in that it does phase these things out a little bit more gently, provides some money up front. So the best way to understand Mitch McConnell, I think, is that he picks the most conservative, politically plausible position, and that's what this bill might be.
No, I think that's largely right, and I definitely think it's an improvement over Obamacare, but I think Mitch McConnell's goal here is to say, check the box. Yeah. Hopefully we can kick this over back to the House so it's not our problem and it'll die over there. But he just doesn't, he's not invested in it passionately as a philosophical issue.
When the president was in Cedar Rapids last night, he said several times he doesn't expect to get any Democratic support on this, calling them obstructionists. Certainly it doesn't look like he's going to get any Democratic support if we listen to what the Democrats said about this a little earlier. Here's Senator Patty Murray. Listen to what she said.
Based on what we are now learning, their Trump Care plan is every bit as bad as what the House passed. It is mean, to quote President Trump, meaner, it is heartless, and it is an enormous broken promise to people across the country.
And then Chris Murphy of Connecticut said, quote, no tweaks by amendment can fix this monstrosity. If you vote for this evil, intellectually bankrupt bill, it will ruin millions of lives. Doesn't sound like the president's going to get any Democratic support here, AB. But
no, but they've known that all along. Yeah. I mean, it mirrors the House bill enough. The House bill is very unpopular, and the real fear among Republicans is that they set this up as a partisan process. They have a very narrow, restrictive procedural trick they're going to use to reconciliation to have a partisan vote. The problem is they're afraid in the next few days that President Trump is going to take in the criticism and have one of his reactions and call it mean again and heartless. And that's a real risk to them putting it all on the line. And he's playing nice and quiet for now, but he called it a negotiation today. He always likes to promise that it's not over yet. And things may change, but there's a real concern among Republicans that they've stuck their neck on the line for this. It is imperfect. They're going to take a lot of heat. They own the outcome, and the president might turn on them and say this is really bad.
There are a lot of Republicans who do like this. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana is one of them because he thinks that what it does is it addresses one of the...
take in the criticism and have one of his reactions and call it mean again and heartless. And that's a real risk to them putting it all on the line. And he's playing nice and quiet for now, but he called it a negotiation today. He always likes to promise that it's not over yet. And things may change, but there's a real concern among Republicans that they've stuck their neck on the line for this. It is imperfect.
Here, springtime, we'll see what happens.
And the president might turn on them and say
PR campaign if I have
There are
anything
a lot of Republicans who do like this. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana is one of them because he thinks that what it does is it addresses one of the biggest influencing factors on the House bill in the 11th hour. That's when Jimmy Kimmel came out and told the story of his brand new baby and the heart condition, saying we all need to have coverage for pre-existing conditions. Here's what Bill Cassidy said a little while ago.
I think it begins to address the Jimmy Kimmel test. A child who is terribly ill or any loved one would both have coverage, but also a way to keep the coverage affordable.
So when you talk about this in the public perception, Molly, does it at least pass that test?
Well, we're very good at telling heartbreaking stories
Hi,
about
my name
one
is
side of the
Sean
equation,
Lewis.
and they're really
If
bad.
you're watching this
really
video
bad about
right
telling
now,
the other side of the equation.
this
A
is
lot
part
of
of
people
my
have suffered under
campaign to get my
Obamacare.
next
Yes,
project
some people
funded.
have been helped by it.
I have a number
Some
of
people have had their
songs that I've
premiums
been
go to places where they
recording
can't afford to
and
get
writing
insurance
over
for
the
their
course of
family.
the
They've been
years.
penalized with these
I
really
am a local
regressive
Oregon
taxes and
musician
fines for
who's
not buying
been,
insurance that they don't
making
want.
music
And so there are all
since,
sorts of stories that should be
as far back
told
as I
in
can
this.
remember.
We should be thinking also about how, I read something today where someone was saying that half of all babies are born on Medicaid, and that's an assumption that that's a good thing. Is that really a good thing, or should we be thinking more about how to lower healthcare costs so that people can afford to pay for their own health insurance?
I should point out, you mentioned just a little while ago that you said Mitch McConnell just sort of dropped this thing and said, I'm done with it. We just heard the president weigh in on this a second ago. He said, quote, I am very supportive of the Senate health care bill. Look forward to making it really special. Remember, Obamacare is dead.
The power of Mitch McConnell. He's reined him in.
I think the president's watching this tonight. Good evening, Mr. President. Next up is the House Democratic leader in trouble. President Trump says he hopes not.
Hi, my name is Sean Lewis. If you're watching this video right now, this is part of my campaign to get my next project funded.
When you
Songs that I've been recording
everything comes
and
together.
writing over the course
Try it
of the
free
years.
at GoToMeeting.com.
You have a choice. Live with less drive and more fat, or get Ageless Male, the #1 best-selling testosterone booster with over 4 million bottles sold. Ageless Male. More confidence, more libido, more testosterone.
Where am I?
Hi, my name is Sean Lewis. If you're watching this video right now,
Save money and
my
motorcycle
campaign to
insurance
get
with
my next
Geico
project
going up the
funded.
country.
A number of songs that I've been
Mom and
recording and writing
I'm
over the
taking a
years.
nap.
I am a local
Dude,
Oregon
you just
musician
woke
who's
up.
been making music since let's go back to
great rates for great rides. The President and First Lady in a powerful sit-down. A candid talk about life inside the White House and their push to help all Americans. Their must-see interview, Friday on Fox and Friends.
The sun used to make our outdoor deck and patio space so hot and uncomfortable, we couldn't use it.
But then we discovered the Sunsetter retractable awning. Our Sunsetter retractable awning opens and closes in just 60 seconds. It keeps our patio about 20 degrees cooler.
It provides instant shade and instant protection from the sun's harmful rays.
And our Sunsetter costs under $700.
But now you can get your Sunsetter for as little as $599 when you call now to get this special $200 discount certificate and free awning idea kit.
We love retractable
Hi,
awning,
my name
and
is
you're
Sean
going
Lewis.
to love
If you're watching
yours
this
too.
video right now,
Sunsetter awnings
this
are
is part of my
assembled in
campaign to get my
America
project
and
funded.
guaranteed to last for years. So call now to get this free awning idea kit with DVD, plus your $200 Sunsetter discount certificate.
But this is a limited time offer.
Call now.
Call now for your free awning idea kit with DVD and $200 discount certificate. There's no obligation.
Hello, neighbor. Pat Boone here for the folks at TV Ears. Are you having trouble hearing your TV set? Somebody telling you it's too loud? Well, you don't need expensive hearing aids. We've got the answer. Doctor recommended TV Ears has helped millions of people vision dialogue clearly. TV Ears eliminates loud TV in your home and returns peace and harmony to your family and your marriage. This fantastic wireless headset elevates hard-to-hear words, making accents, even whispers, understandable. Now your family can watch TV with you or mute the TV volume for complete quiet. Why don't you call the number on your screen? Get the original TV Ears, normally $129.95, for just $59.95, plus a free 5-year limited warranty, all for just $59.95. Call the number on your screen. Start enjoying TV again. You're gonna love TV Ears.
I feel very confident in the support that I have in my caucus. I respect any opinion that members of
Hi, my name is Sean Lewis. If you're
my
watching this video
decision
right
about
now,
how long I stay is not up to them.
You think Nancy Pelosi is more toxic than Donald Trump?
You know what? The honest answer is, in some areas of the country, yes, she is. In certain areas, like in some of these special election districts, it doesn't benefit our candidates to be tied to her.
Nancy Pelosi was a great speaker. She is a great leader, but her time has come and gone. Yes, she's a great fundraiser, but if the money that we are raising with her through her leadership is not helping us win elections, then we have to have this difficult conversation now.
After the Democrats go 0 for 4 in competitive special elections, a lot of talk about whether or not Nancy Pelosi can continue on as the Democratic minority leader. Jason, what do you think?
Jonah.
Did I say Jason?
You did.
I'm sorry. We were up late last night. Molly knows.
Yeah. Look, I think the thing is, look, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of tumult about Donald Trump and all that. Nancy Pelosi's problem is that Nancy Pelosi is a known quantity. She is literally a San Francisco Democrat. She has presided over great troubles for the Democratic Party. And while people may have lots of debates about where the GOP is, the GOP as a party is actually more popular than the face of the Democratic Party as represented by Nancy Pelosi. And we saw that in the race in Georgia. And the Democratic Party has seemed to sort of bought itself into this idea that it can cater purely to the sort of Salon magazine reading base of a couple hundred college professors. And have rhetoric that sounds like it really just doesn't like the country, and come out a winner. And that's not going to work in a lot of districts that they need to win if they ever want to take back the House.
Well, we don't need AB to encourage President Trump to respond to this because he already did. He said, quote, "I certainly hope the Democrats do not force Nancy P. out. That would be very bad for the Republican Party, and please let crying Chuck stay." So clearly, AB, the president thinks that her continued tenure as minority leader plays to the Republicans' favor.
Oh, all Republicans think that. They're openly begging for her to stay. She is a liability for the Democrats. She needs to go. I wrote that back in the fall. The Democrats had their chance in November, and they blew it. They did not support Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio. They supported Nancy Pelosi, and they're stuck with her. And she knows it, which is why she was more defiant today than she's ever been with her tone. She used to say that stuff behind closed doors, and now she says it out loud. You're stuck with me, because it's the middle of the cycle. She can smell being Speaker again. Actually, the generic ballot definitely favors the Democrats and not the Republicans. If the race was held tomorrow, the House is definitely in play. It doesn't mean they're going to win districts like Georgia 6 or that they can even win, but she's going to hang on, because she didn't get ousted in November, and so they lost their chance.
Do you think they lost their chance, Bob?
I don't know. I actually think it's kind of unfair that she is getting blamed for the Democratic Party's troubles. Yes, she is a San Francisco liberal. That is a problem. But it's really the party itself that has a lot of values that are out of the mainstream, whether it's support for abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy, support for unlimited immigration without thinking through some of the effects of that, climate change proposals that do a wealth transfer, changing laws about sex distinctions, not protecting religious minorities or Christians, in the public square. These are things that are identified with the Democratic Party and not just Nancy Pelosi. And I think it's a bigger messaging problem they have to deal with if they want to capture middle-of-the-road American voters.
So the big news coming out of the White House this afternoon was that President Trump has acknowledged that there were no tapes of his conversations with James Comey. The president tweeting, quote, "With all of the recently reported electronic surveillance, intercepts, unmasking, and illegal leaking of information, I have no idea whether there are tapes or recordings of my conversations with James Comey, but I did not make and do not have any such recordings." Adam Schiff, the ranking member on the House Select Committee on Intelligence, said, quote, "If the president had no tapes, why did he suggest otherwise? Did he seek to mislead the public? Was he trying to intimidate or silence James Comey? And if so, did he take other steps to discourage potential witnesses from speaking out?" So now it's created another controversy in Jonah. When you look back at what happened, that tweet precipitated the appointment of a special counsel. That was a fairly costly tweet for the president.
It was a bad idea, and it got him into a lot of trouble, and he's still trying to back out of it. I got to say, I don't really care about the bluff about the tapes. I always thought it was a bluff. To me, it is a perfect example of how he tries to run his presidency like a reality show. Like, wait for the big reveal at the end of the mid-season break kind of thing. What does bother me about that tweet is his insinuation that it's entirely plausible that members of the deep state or the intelligence community or law enforcement are bugging the Oval Office without his awareness. And that is a pretty provocative charge to make. I'm sure he's making it, if he ever gets pushback on it, he'll say he was just speaking tongue-in-cheek. But I thought that was the more offensive part of it.
No, that's ridiculous, though. I mean, you've had nothing but months of leaks about people affiliated with the Trump campaign or otherwise. It's not insane at all to think that there might be surveillance, since we've seen so many, unmasked.
What allegations that Donald Trump has been surreptitiously recorded without
Why
his
would they
approval?
not all of a sudden?
I mean, the issue there with that original tweet is that James Comey had already been leaking to the New York Times, and he'd been presenting stories as if he was some hero of the conversations he had with Trump. That tweet actually got James Comey to admit that he did 3 times tell Donald Trump that he wasn't under investigation. It got him to admit that he did say Mike Flynn was a good guy when he was asked about it by the president. And it did get him to also admit that he had pledged his honest loyalty to Donald Trump, which was contrary to what he had said to the New York Times the day before that.
It also got him a special prosecutor.
Right, which was
I think it's naive to think that would have not happened otherwise. James Comey was clearly laying the groundwork in a campaign through his leaking, and it's kind of rewriting history.
But my point still stands. There's no evidence whatsoever that anyone was bugging or wiretapping the Oval Office or the President of the United States without his awareness.
A lot of leaking of taped conversations for a group of people that are not doing a lot of surveillance.
AB's watching a tennis match here. Let's get you.
Look, Donald Trump behaves recklessly, and when he tweeted that to begin with, even though it was a quote-unquote bluff or a tease, it was reckless. I can't imagine the scene from the show The Office of people sitting around talking with Trump about June 23 is coming, and you'll have to come up with an answer on these tapes, sir. Obviously, there were no tapes, but he had to do a safe face in the end, so he had to say, I don't know. Maybe I'm being taped against my will by the evil Secret Service or the deep state. But it's also, again, that's irresponsible. If he really thought that President Obama had surreptitiously wiretapped him, then he needed to do that in private. Instead, he took it to Twitter on March 5th, a mistake.
In true Trump fashion, he has ignited yet a whole new controversy. Thanks so much, folks. Appreciate it. When we come back, Britt Hume's greatest hits.
is where we hit the high notes.
Bring back my bunny.
Especially when the hot water goes out. Trust Angie's List to help. Visit angieslist.com today.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
It's okay that everybody ignores me when I drive. It's fine, because I get a safe driving bonus check every 6 months I'm accident-free. Because I don't use my cell phone when I'm driving, even though my family does and leaves me all alone. Here's something else. I don't share it with Mom. I don't. Right, Mom? I have a brand new putter you don't even know about.
Fed up with this.
It's awesome.
Safe driving bonus checks only from Allstate.
Sometimes I leave the seat up on purpose.
Switching to Allstate is worth it.
The day after chemo might mean a trip back to the doctor's office, just for a shot. But why go back there when you can stay home with Neulasta Onpro?
Strong chemo can put you at risk of serious infection, which could lead to hospitalizations. In a key study, Neulasta reduced the risk of infection from 17% to 1%, a 94% decrease. Applied the day of chemo, Neulasta Onpro is designed to deliver Neulasta the next day, so you can stay home. Neulasta is for certain cancer patients receiving strong chemotherapy. Do not take Neulasta if you're allergic to Neulasta or Neupogen, filgrastim. Ruptured spleen, sometimes fatal as well as serious lung problems, allergic reactions, kidney injuries, and capillary leak syndrome have occurred. Report abdominal or shoulder tip pain, trouble breathing, or allergic reactions to your doctor right away. In patients with sickle cell disorders, serious, sometimes fatal crises can occur. The most common side effect is bone and muscle ache.
So why go back there? If you'd rather be home, ask your doctor about Neulasta Onpro.
Dear Predictable, there's no other way to say this. It's over. I found a permanent escape from monotony. Together we are perfectly balanced. Our senses awake. Our hearts racing as one. I know this is sudden, but they say if you love something, set it free. See you around, Julia.
Finally tonight, today is the birthday of Fox News senior political analyst and former special report anchor Brit Hume. So in his honor tonight, we have put together a greatest hits collection.
Is that a split finger fastball? This will be a split finger lob.
And there's Britt back in 2005 demonstrating his 30-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle there, throwing out the first pitch at a Washington Nationals game. Back in 2001, Britt helped carry the Olympic torch through Washington ahead of the Salt Lake City Winter Games. And we all know that former President George H.W. Bush likes to skydive for his birthday. In 2004, Britt got to suit up and join 41. No word on whether Britt plans to celebrate his own birthday this year, number 74, by jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Thanks for watching Special Report. I'm John Robertson for Brett Baer. Good night from Washington. The Story with Martha McCallum is next.
Breaking tonight, Nancy Pelosi says she is, quote, worth the trouble in the face of lost elections and some fierce opposition in the ranks as the president revels in a win and a road trip. Good evening, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and here is the story for tonight. So the secret healthcare plan is now out in the open, and it's being hotly debated, in fact. And the president says, with regard to the White House tapes, he doesn't have any. But last night, the president was back in his element, doing what he does best, playing to the crowd out in Iowa. Watch this.
Everyone gathered in this arena is bound together by common values. You love our country. You obey our laws. All you want is a government that shows you the same respect and loyalty in return. We are making such incredible progress. We are making progress like nobody can believe. These people are being driven crazy. Crazy. I mean, they have phony witch hunts going against me. They have everything going. And you know what? All we do is win, win, win.
Iowa, healthcare, Nancy Pelosi, and the tale of the tapes. Let's bring in our panel tonight. Mark Thiessen is a scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. Marie Harf is a former Obama State Department spokesperson. Both are Fox News contributors. And Brian Lanza is the former communications director for the Trump transition team and managing director at Mercury LLC. All right, first, so is the White House putting together a practically Russia-free week? And what did you think of the president's message? Let's start with you, Mark.
Well, except for that one mention of a witch hunt, this was the first speech or public utterances that Donald Trump has made that made no mention of Russia whatsoever. He was talking about his agenda. He was talking about health care, taxes, infrastructure, jobs, the things people elected him to do. And the way you he's not still, to this day, he's not under investigation for collusion with Russia. He believes that there's no collusion. If that is true, then the way you succeed is by flooding the zone with policy wins, by focusing on your agenda, by going out to places like Iowa, rallying the country around his agenda, the things that the forgotten Americans sent him to Washington to do. They didn't send him to Washington to fight with the fake news media or have a big fight with Congress over Russia. They sent him to do these things, to get them to get jobs, help them with opioid crisis, help them with all these problems. And as long as he focuses on that, he's going to succeed.
You know, it's so interesting to watch, and you were on the communications team, yes, Brian, and we all remember during the campaign, you know, there were times when things would go wildly off track, as I know you well remember, and then he would try to get back to the stuff, back to, I remember you guys saying, we're going to do policy speeches this week, we're going to do this policy speech and that policy speech, and, you know, it helped. It helped to turn him sort of back on focus. Can he do that? And also, is he as upset about all of this as people argue? Because he didn't look that upset last night.
First of all, thanks for having me here. Listen, the president has a unique ability to focus when the time comes to it. I think when you look at the policies that he was elected on and you look at the people he's looking to represent in D.C. and drain the swamp, that's always been his focus. What you have is sort of a left-wing media agenda of trying to bring a distraction there with this Russia investigation. What we know now is that this investigation started nearly a year ago from testimony that they started monitoring Carter Page. So in a year's time, we have not one shred of evidence of any collusion.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. We played the David Brooks soundbite last night, but when David Brooks, who really has nothing nice to say about the president, starts going, I'm a little thinking there's nothing there, maybe.
The issue's dead.
Has Democrats gone too far out on a limb counting on this story and wanting it to bring the presidency down?
Well, Donald Trump was clearly in his element last night, and I think for all of us, we saw that. But campaigning is not governing, and if healthcare doesn't pass the Senate, it's not going to be because of Democrats. It's going to be because the Republican caucus cannot get its act together. So Donald Trump clearly was in a place last night that he's comfortable with. He was talking to voters he's comfortable with, but it still remains to be seen whether his agenda will get passed forward. And he has his base. That is clear. That's not enough to hold the House in 2018, I don't think.
There was one issue that did, dance around the Russia story, and it had to do with whether or not there were tapes from the White House. And we all remember sort of the back and forth from the president. Maybe there are tapes. Maybe there aren't tapes. So here's what he said about this today. Let's put it up. With all of the recently reported electronic surveillance, intercepts, unmasking, and illegal leaking of information, I have no idea, ... whether there are tapes or recordings of my conversations with James Comey, but I did not make and do not have any such recordings. Why? Brian, why does he do this? I mean, that just opened up a huge can of worms. You've got, Adam Schiffer, we're going to talk to in a little while, saying, what does he mean by that? Are there or are there not tapes?
Here's what we know is that him saying that the potential of tapes exist has actually kept Director Comey honest during the testimony. He was able to say, hey, you know what, in fact, the president says that he was told 3 times that he wasn't under any type of investigation. By the very fact that he said he potentially had those tapes, it sort of forced Comey to confirm that he wasn't under any type of federal investigation. It also forced Comey to come back and sort of correct a New York Times story that leaks from the investigation said that there were direct ties between Russia and the administration, and the threat of potential tapes forced Comey to testify that didn't exist.
Would it surprise you if this White House records things when people come in to talk?
Yeah, I'm not surprised if government records everything. I think the modern times sort of said that everything's being watched nowadays. I mean, we know that, like I said, we know that July of 2016 that the FBI started paying attention to Carter Page. So we have been under surveillance for nearly a year. So that exists. Now, does the White House have tapes? I've been to the White House many times. I haven't seen any of those things. I don't operate under the assumption that those exist. But we do know that the tactic that the president said that he may have tapes forced Comey's hand to say publicly 3 times during testimony that there was no evidence of collusion. It also forced him to correct the story that was out there that saying evidence existed in the New York Times and a competitor
So you're saying
network.
if he's bluffing, it worked?
But it also kept the story in the news.
Exactly. Kept the story in the news. Exactly.
In the news, and that's not the story the Trump administration wants out there right now.
All right. So as the White House may be finding...
Representative Jason Chaffetz releases voicemail of death threat that he just recently received. Hello everyone, Jen here, Golden State Times, and today we have a news story. This one comes courtesy of townhall.com, and it says that Representative Jason Chaffetz shared a death threat he received with Fox News Thursday, in which a man left a voicemail on his office phone saying that he was going to hang Chaffetz from a lamppost. So in the audio you could hear, "Hey Jason Chaffetz, I suggest you prepare for battle, motherfucker, and the apocalypse." The man yelled, quote, "because we're going to hunt your ass down, wrap a rope around your neck, and hang you from a lamppost." So that's some pretty crazy stuff. You know, for you to receive something as crazy as that, it's got to scare you a little bit, especially what's going on with, you know, with the baseball practice, you know, Republicans getting shut down and stuff like that. But here is the actual audio. All right, so we're gonna play it for you guys so you guys can hear it for yourselves. Here we go. Give me 1 second, sorry. Boom.
Chaffetz, I suggest you prepare for the battle, motherfucker, and the apocalypse, because we're gonna hunt you down, wrap a rope around your neck, and hang you from a lamppost.
All right, so as you guys can hear, that is the voicemail that was left by the person on Jason Chaffetz's office phone. All right, it was listened to by one of his staffers, and then it was brought to his attention. The article goes on to say that while the caller has since been arrested only because he left 2 messages. So not only did one, he left 2 different messages. So he was found and arrested. Chaffetz explained that lawmakers deal with threats like these regularly without prosecution. He recalled another time someone threatened to slit his throat. It says that in the wake of the GOP lawmakers coming under attack in Alexandria, Virginia during a practice for the congressional baseball game, the Utah Republicans said more needs to be done to
civil war about to erupt in Texas after what massive sign says that just popped up last night. The way free speech and capitalism works in America is that anyone willing to pay top dollar for a sign can do so and apparently make it say whatever they want to get their point across. This seems to be the case a lot lately with Muslims in Florida, putting their billboard up to mock our president and push Islam on innocent passersby. However, a new trend is signage from private citizens is starting to emerge, as seen in Indiana and now in the great state of Texas. When certain drivers see what it says, it's only a matter of time before civil war erupts. A war of words has started with a number of signs popping up across the country from different people with very different opinions that are raising tensions and potential cases of road rage among Muslims and liberals. It's fair to say that the latest sign in the San Antonio area has trumped them all with the specific message it portrays that someone needed to say, and we can thank Kylie Courtney for being bold enough to do so. It doesn't take much to rile up the volatile left, which is why they're likely to go to war over a few words on a billboard. If they can't stand the heat, then maybe they shouldn't have supported Muslims' rights to put up signs that push Islam in America where it doesn't belong. Two can play at that game, and Courtney just proved that with his well-played pro-Trump billboard with a big conservative message that's infuriating liberals. Bourne resident Kylie Courtney apparently had some beef with ABC News and how they've reported on President Donald Trump. So much beef that he bought a large billboard ad to make public his fed-upness reading. ABC News, I grew up with you. We are through. The Russians didn't elect Donald Trump. I did. The billboard is located on I-10 and Buckskin Drive, and as reported by News 4 SA, will be up for about 2 months. ABC News, I grew up with you. We are through. The Russians didn't elect Donald Trump. I did. While there were a lot of people who appreciated the sentiment Courtney shared in the conservative state, there were some leftist detractors who didn't like what he had to say. Courtney elaborated more on what drove him to make this message in a statement made to News 4 San Antonio. ABC News was the only channel I watched as a child growing up in Texas, but I think they have lost touch with America and forgotten the working man. They don't respect our voice anymore. Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign was funded by the Clinton Foundation in close coordination with the media, and now we're seeing them try to fix what they couldn't fix during the election. They are doing everything they can night and day to create narratives and sway people's direction to impeach Donald Trump. Our democracy is at stake when a major political party and the media are in bed together. I'm not asking anyone to boycott the Democratic Party. I'm not in the brainwashing business, but the liberal media is. Courtney paid for the sign himself, and a spokesman for his great American company, Wellstar Groundwater Technologies, told the news station that the billboard will be up for about 2 months. He may keep the sign up longer and switch the message to something new if he decides to do so, which we think could be a great idea. People need to see what he has to say to counter all the backhanded claims the mainstream media makes. We, the people, are fed up with the divisive and irresponsible rhetoric fed to citizens in this great nation aimed to discredit our president. It's these kinds of messages that the media is pushing that's driving liberals over the edge to do crazy things like we saw at the congressional baseball practice. Trump isn't going anywhere, so the media needs to just get on board and accept that, or continue to see a decline in their ratings and reputation. The message that people aren't buying what the mainstream media is pushing on them anymore has never been more clear than it is now, with these counter billboards popping up all over the country. Another sign that recently appeared in Indiana effectively defeated Democrat and Muslim lies about Islam. Freedom Daily previously reported about a truth jab made at Muslims' Prophet Muhammad being the perfect man, not beating around the bush about the true meaning of Islam. The billboard crafted by the group Truthophobes hilariously mocks their prophet Muhammad as the perfect man, where the gigantic billboard then lists out 6 truth-filled bullet points to describe him. The bullets include: married a 6-year-old, slave owner and dealer, rapist, beheaded 600 Jews in one day, 13 wives, 11 at one time, and tortured and killed unbelievers. Local Muslims instantly got their man dresses and burqas in a collective wad, predictably screaming that the creator of the billboard was a bigot. Conservatives have a right to free speech just as much as Muslims and liberals in America do, and it's awesome to see so many unafraid patriots using it now. The truth can and will be heard, and we can thank President Trump for opening that floodgate of honesty for us that Barack Obama had tried to lock down for years. So totally true. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if they don't like it, too bad. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.
With a prepaid Visa Rush Card, get your direct deposit up to 2 days early.
So what are you doing tomorrow for your birthday, Dad?
So your money's ready when you are.
What about that one? Buying trips.
And you're free to do the things that matter most.
So much. Miss! Where's my Rush Card?
And now with Rush Card's new pause protection feature, you can pause and resume your own account. Get your direct deposit up to 2 days early. And pause protection. Sign up at rushcard.com today.
Civil war about to erupt in Florida after what Muslims' massive sign says that popped up overnight. Muslims in America are becoming bolder than they ever have before as the threat of losing their religious rights and ultimately control is imminent under new leadership. They were praised and protected for 8 years under our former president, and now their plan for complete domination over this country is slipping away. Fed up with being feared after every terrorist attack, Muslims in Florida just struck back at concerned citizens and President Donald Trump with a massive message along a busy freeway that cannot be ignored. Now, it's only a matter of time before civil war erupts in the streets there based on what the sign says. President Trump is a Muslim's worst nightmare since he doesn't make apologies for what needs to be done to protect Americans, no matter who it offends. With the constant chatter of concern for Islamophobia after any Islamic terrorist attack, Muslims in Tampa, Florida wanted to teach people a lesson and disrespectfully used Trump to do it as a backhanded way of getting their misguided message out. In what seems like a joke, since the city apparently approved this huge billboard despite the anti-patriotic point it makes, motorists in Tampa were shocked to see that the Muslims who made this billboard are very serious about their message. At first glance, the sign looks like it's pro-Trump since it closely resembles his campaign slogan and signage "Make America Great Again." However, the Islamists hijacked it to send a message about their religion to everyone in Florida. Downtrend reports. For love, compassion and mercy, call 1877 Why Islam or drop by their website at whyislam.org. One of the sponsors for the billboard is the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE, which has come under criticism in the past for what some say are views sympathetic to radical Islamic terrorism. It's no surprise that the terrorist-tied Muslim group, CARE, put up this propaganda as it seems to be their mission to make America Islamic and usher in Sharia law, rather than great again. There's a new billboard up along I-275 in Tampa that may appear to be a campaign sign for Donald Trump. When you drive by really quick it looks like making America great. A Donald Trump sign, said local business owner Paula Simudas, according to WTSP 10 in Tampa Bay. But the billboard located along the east side of the interstate at the Slack Avenue exit wasn't purchased by the Trump campaign or the Republican Party, but instead the Islamic community of Tampa. Ada McKeek of the Council on American Islamic Relations defended the sign and the message along with the reason they made it look like a MAGA sign. Making America great doesn't mean we all have to be the same. No, it's the diversity that makes us so great, she said. McKeek insists that the intention of the sign is not to get people to convert to Islam, rather, to be a beacon of information for those wanting to understand the so-called religion of peace. Whether it's to convert or not, One thing is clear, which is that CARE and countless Muslims in America want to make people believe the rhetoric and accept it so they can carry on with achieving domination. The website at myislam.org appears to be less about educating Americans about Islam but converting them to it, Downtrend reported. The site even has a live chat function if prospects are really anxious to enlist and don't want to wait for the literature to be mailed to them.
It's not, there's no point to this. It doesn't do anything. Bill Cassidy listed some positive aspects. That's great. We could do everything Bill Cassidy listed without massively cutting one of the largest social safety nets in our country. And look, you guys always bring up the quote of what I said in the past, and I'm sorry about that, but it's commentators like your last one who are treating your viewers like they don't have intelligence when they don't highlight the fact that during the Affordable Care Act...
Didn't you say that before?
There was 25 days straight of Senate floor debate, the second longest Senate floor debate in our nation's history, and they want to rush this through with 3 days after the CBO
You know what
score.
I think? I think what the American people want is a better health care plan. I think they were told that they could keep their doctor. They were told that they could keep their plan. That was judged as the lie of the year because everybody up and down the food chain who gets medical care found out that that actually wasn't the case. And, you know, one of the things that's very interesting in this is that it does sort of try to go after things like means testing, age-adjusted tax credits, ways of looking at where there's waste. And I remember when President Obama said, you know, one of the ways he was going to pay for Obamacare was to go after waste and fraud and abuse. That never happened, Jonathan.
That's absolutely not true. We've done more to reduce fraud. This is, once again, I trust your viewers will respect the facts. The single fact is Obamacare did more to reduce fraud in the U.S. healthcare system than any piece of legislation before. You can look it up. And look, I want your viewers to simply ask themselves, will they be better off? Your viewers who are rich, they'll be better off. I'm leaving them out of it. Your viewers who are below $250,000 a year, I know my political views don't agree with theirs, but I want them to simply sit down and ask themselves, are they going to be better off under a law which makes lower and middle income people pay much, much more for their health insurance?
Well, let me ask
That's
you
a
this.
simple fact.
First of all, fraud in 2014, toward the end of those years, was $125 billion. And in fact, there was a program under Obamacare that was supposed to find fraud in hospitals. And under the Obama administration, it was cut back because the hospitals didn't like it because the program gave them a little bit of pad that they actually liked. So there's plenty of places...
That's just not true. If you look at fraud collections by Medicare, they peaked under the actions taken by the Affordable Care Act. We've actually done more to reduce fraud under this law. First of all, fraud is a trivial part of healthcare. Let's be honest, $125 billion is a tiny, tiny fraction of our healthcare spend. But second, the actions taken, Medicare fraud collections peaked under the Affordable Care Act.
You know, what I'm trying to get at, and maybe
information.
Lisa can weigh on this before I run out of time, because I'm going to, unfortunately, you know, in terms of looking at the system and how it works and getting doctors and patients back into the same sphere where they're actually dealing with each other instead of these faraway entities, do you think this will bring down costs and help them do that, Lisa? Quickly, I need an answer, sorry.
I do think it's going to head in that. Look, this bill is not perfect. They have to use a reconciliation process. There are so many limitations in what you can do within those parameters, but I think there are real mechanisms that they're trying to do. And just look at even just giving states more flexibility with the 1332 waiver that basically Obamacare and Democrats tried to make impossible for states to access, allowing states to be able to be more innovative. And you look at something like Medicaid, which is unsustainable at the rate that it's currently expanding. But look, the way that Obamacare is... Okay.
I'm sorry, Lisa. You know, I hope you guys will come back because I would love for you to come back, and we're going to be talking about this for a while. And I'd love to hear more from Jonathan Gruber. Thank you for being here. And Lisa Booth, thank you very much, you guys. We'll continue. So still ahead, Democrats waking up to the realization that President Trump is in prime position to reshape our nation's courts. So why might this be the Democrats' fault? We'll explain. Plus, some off-the-cuff remarks from the president last night dominating the morning's media coverage. What the president said about who he wants running the economy in his administration that has folks very upset about his reference to poor people. What did he mean? Charles Hurt and Juan Williams coming up next on that.
I love all people, rich or poor. But in those particular positions, I just don't want a poor person. Does that make sense?
Why does Daisy take Cosequin? So she can jump in and call shotgun. Unless somebody called it first. Keep 'em moving with Cosequin Joint Health Supplements.
At Red Lobster's Lobster and Shrimp Summerfest, lobster and shrimp are teaming up in so many new dishes, like new coastal lobster and shrimp with shrimp crusted with kettle chips, or new over-the-top lobster and shrimp overboard. But it can't last, so hurry in.
We're on to you, diabetes. Time's up insufficient prenatal care. And administrative paperwork, your days of drowning people are numbered. Same goes for you, budget overruns. And rising costs. Wipe that smile off your face. We're coming for you too. For those who won't rest until the world is healthier, neither will we. Optum, how well gets done.
When you booked this trip, you didn't know we had over 26,000 local activities listed on our app, or that you could book them right from your phone. A few weeks ago, you still didn't know if you were going to go. Now the only thing you don't know is why it took you so long to come here. Expedia. Everything in one place so you can travel the world better.
I have lived on this street for 64 years. Broad daylight, they broke into the front glass door, stole whatever they could get their fingers on. I need a home security system. I need something for protection.
This Shaq and Jamie, ma'am.
My heart's going blah, 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 blah.
Get you some rings and make your home safer. Shaq and I just put this up for you.
Hey, Shaq, what are you doing there?
Now you have your Ring doorbells in the front, your floodlight cams in the back.
I love making neighborhoods safe. We're always home, baby.
Do you have bruised skin? You need Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Formula for mature skin. Dermend uses proven ingredients that help improve the appearance of bruises. Help your bruised skin. Get Dermend now at Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, and Rite Aid.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online with Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
Will you be ready when the moment turns romantic? Cialis for daily use treats ED and the urinary symptoms of BPH. Tell your doctor about your medicines and ask if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Do not take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain or Adempas for pulmonary hypertension, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Do not drink alcohol in excess. To avoid long-term injury, get medical help right away for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have a sudden decrease or loss of hearing or vision or an allergic reaction, stop taking Cialis and get medical help right away. Ask your doctor about Cialis.
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7. Channel 115.
So President Trump is about to address the congressional picnic on the South Lawn at the White House. There's Vice President Mike Pence and his wife, Karen Pence, introducing him now. So while we're waiting for that, I'm joined by Charlie Hurt, columnist at The Washington Times and Fox News contributor, and Juan Williams, a co-host of The Five and a Fox News political analyst. So you guys weren't invited to the picnic, I guess.
Guess not. Thank goodness. Never get invited to the picnic.
You know, you look at what the White House has been doing over the past couple of days. There seems to be a concerted effort to sort of move beyond some of the issues that have been dogging them. Now Mike Pence, the vice president, is introducing the president. So let's just watch this for a moment.
States of America, President Donald Trump.
This is so beautiful. Wow. Thank you, Vice President Pence. Thank you, Karen. You've been such a tremendous help to me, both of you, and we very much appreciate it. And Melania and myself, we've become great friends, and great job. Really great job. Thank you. This has truly become, as you know, a wonderful tradition. It's the very first congressional picnic that Melania and I have the pleasure of hosting, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. We've gotten to know many of you over the last weeks and months and developed many friendships with politicians. Can you believe it? And some really great people, I have to say. Mostly. A couple of bad ones, but that's okay. But we're honored to host you at the White House and privileged to count you as our very close friends. So many. Tonight, our thoughts and prayers remain with one friend who is not here, a man that we have all come to know and respect and to love, Congressman Steve Scalise. The outpouring of support for Steve and his family has been truly inspiring. We are so touched that joining us here this evening are Steve and Jennifer's children, Harrison and Madison. Beautiful children. In fact, we just gave them a tour of the White House. Just gave them a beautiful tour of the White House. They got the A tour. You know, sometimes we give the B, the C, the D, and the F tour is just like, here it is, let's get out of here. We gave them the A tour. And I want them to know that the whole country is praying for their courageous dad. And all of us are praying for them. It's been amazing. The recovery is going now well. For 2 days I was saying it's really tough. But today I can report things are looking very, very good. So we're very happy about that. I also want to give a very special thanks to Special Agents Greiner and Bailey of the Capitol Police. Lucky they were there for their life-saving actions, and all of the members of Congress, a lot of brave people in Congress who acted in those moments of danger and protected each other. They cared for the wounded, they shielded the vulnerable, and they really did put their own safety aside. So I want to thank some of those people were really very, very brave. We would have never maybe found out about them, except we got to see them in action. So now we know for sure. But we want to thank them. There was a great deal of bravery on behalf of everybody. And you know, Agents Greiner and Bailey, they came rushing in from the outfield. Somebody with a rifle, and they had handguns.
What?
And that's not a good deal. But one of those bullets struck at the right place, and that was really incredible, or that would have been a far worse morning, believe me. So we want to thank them. America is also filled with pride over the display of character and sportsmanship at the congressional baseball game. I heard it was very special. I wanted to go there, but our folks from Secret Service says maybe we better take a pass. I wanted to be there so badly you have no idea. But I spent a little time at the hospital instead with Steve. It's our hope that this unity that was displayed that evening can maybe continue to grow and thrive between Republicans and Democrats. And I think, honestly, I think we'd all be doing a lot better. And I know the country would be doing a lot better.
Don't they know murder is wrong?
The American people have entrusted us with great responsibility, and I know that we will prove worthy of the trust they have placed in each of us. I'm hopeful that the spirit of cooperation that we've seen in recent days will deepen as we move forward. I really believe it's something that can happen. Maybe it's too early. Maybe the wounds are too deep in terms of the relationship because it's been bad for a long time. Long time. Not just when we got there. I mean, this has gone on for many years. And hopefully those wounds can heal and heal quickly because we owe it to the American people. Tonight, let us enjoy the company of friends and the comfort of our loved ones. And tomorrow, let us continue to do the people's bidding and create the optimistic future our citizens so richly deserve. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special evening, beautiful evening. And I just want to say, God bless you and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
There you have it. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump and the Vice President Mike Pence and his wife Karen Pence as they kick off a tradition on a beautiful summer night in Washington, D.C. as they get ready for the picnic with members of Congress. Obviously, Democrats and Republicans all gathered there on the South Lawn for the evening, and the president expressing his hopes that perhaps they can come together on some legislation in the very near future. And also, he was obviously putting out some good words for Steve Scalise, who is still in the hospital but appears to be doing better. He's got a long recovery road ahead of him, to be sure, but he is someone who is very well liked on Capitol Hill, and his children got the A tour tonight, which I'm sure they're happy about. So we want to keep one eye sort of on this as we move forward, but we also want to bring back our friends Charlie Hurt and Juan Williams, who are here tonight,
autistic,
watching this with us. And before we get to our other topic, just a quick thought on what we just saw. Charlie?
The president is not exactly always presidential and doesn't always exactly say everything the way politicians are supposed to say it. But, it's heartfelt, it's funny, it's I think he genuinely means what he says, and he completely talks over the media and reaches people, in the voters. And that's all that matters. He's very effective at that.
What?
Well, I love it when he says, I've made some friends, even politicians. And he's talking to a group of politicians. I mean, who's there? And of course, I was struck by the idea that normally the president comes to the picnic with an open collar. He chose not to. He looked great. He looked like the president, but
he wears two things. He wears the jacket and tie,
right,
or golf clothes.
That's it.
But I haven't seen anything in between of you.
But it's all about marketing. He is a marketer. And he knows that that's his style, that's his thing, and he doesn't deviate from it, and it's effective, I think.
Yeah, and there he is, sort of working the crowd, which he also very much likes to do, as everybody's out there on this very nice evening. We want to go back to something that he said last night that got some attention. He was in Iowa, and he was explaining why he chose people who happen to be very wealthy to have high positions in his cabinet when it comes to the economy. Watch.
So somebody said, why did you appoint a rich person to be in charge of the economy? I said, no, it's true. And Wilbur's a very rich person in charge of commerce. I said, because that's the kind of thinking we want. I mean, really, because they're representing the country. I love all people, rich or poor. But in those particular positions, I just don't want a poor person. Does that make sense?
Charlie, what's wrong with that?
You don't think
there's anything wrong?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And when he said it, I turned to the guy that I was watching with, and I said, you know what? That's going to be the only thing anybody talks about tomorrow. Is that the media is not going to get the joke? Obviously, he's not saying that he doesn't like poor people. He's saying that he wants a rich person, somebody who's made a lot of money, to be running the Commerce Department.
Because they're good at handling money.
Because they're good at making money, and it's going to make all of us rich. And I think that most people that heard that, they automatically go to that, unless you're in the media and you just you have no sense of humor, and you automatically just have to parse everything and turn it into a scandal.
You just set up this perfectly. Let's take a look.
It was what he said about who he wants to lead his economic team and poor people that's making news this morning. John, this is a president who campaigned on the forgotten man. What was this all about?
I've just never heard a leader say, when you come right down to it, in certain things, I'll qualify it. The rich are just better than the poor at it.
Any other person in politics who would say something like that would like have their career crushed. And Donald Trump's just gonna like skate by it. Are you speechless?
I am.
Okay.
I really am.
I didn't quite
Difficult
gather exactly what he said. What is it he said?
Figure out why you would want
He said-
someone who is good at handling money to handle the money.
Well, that's not what he said. He didn't say that he wanted people who are expert at handling money. He said he thought rich people. Now you can inherit money, you can be blessed by God Almighty and come into money, but he didn't say expertise. I think this is Donald Trump like.
I don't think either of the men that he mentioned, Cohn and
Right.
Wilbur Ross, thank you. I don't think either one of them inherited it.
No, but obviously, when you're talking about things like Goldman Sachs, when you're talking about billionaires, in fact, you're talking about billionaires, Martha, what you're saying is these people somehow in Donald Trump's mind fit with the smart, the beautiful, the successful, okay?
Right.
So going with Charlie, I'll take that. But the fact is, being rich doesn't mean that you're not corrupt. It doesn't mean that you're not greedy. We've seen a lot of that 2008
Doesn't
recession.
yeah exactly.
Guess what?
Doesn't
Those
mean that you
very
are.
beautiful, rich people
And just
who
because
took
you're
the country down.
And you know who was President Obama's?
and just because you're
economic-
poor
Jason
doesn't mean
Furman,
you're a freaking expert on
$24.7
it
million
either.
net
I
worth.
mean,
Penny
it's
Pritzker,
just
$2.4
that
billion
part's asinine.
net worth. He chose similar people. With
Never
similar
worked
I think
for
his
that.
cabinet's 5 times
Asinine.
wealthier than the Obama cabinet, about 34 times wealthier than the Bush cabinet, by the way.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Good to see you tonight. So also tonight, the left sounding new alarms, fearing that President Trump could reshape the courts across the land. With current judicial vacancies well over 100, the president is in a prime position to do just that, to pack the courts with men and women who align with his way of thinking. President for the Alliance for Justice group warning, quote, they are taking advantage of the moment to realize their dream of putting judges hostile to civil rights and civil liberties on the bench, who will be there long after Donald Trump leaves office. Here now, David Wall and attorney Richard Fowler is a senior fellow at New Leaders Council and a Fox News contributor. Gentlemen, as we watch the picnic tonight, your thoughts on the potential for these judge positions and how they may make America look. David?
Well, since Donald Trump declared his candidacy, he vowed to have a robust conservative judiciary, one that would stick to the black letter of the Constitution. What a concept. Now, there are 100 vacancies right now in the federal judiciary. And what does that mean? He's going to be able to get people in, thanks to Harry Reid deploying the nuclear option 4 years ago, with a simple 51 to 49 majority, which means he could get all of those judges to be conservative judges, and we need to balance out. We've seen the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, the hyper-liberal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, shoot down everything he's brought in front of them, Martha. So this is critical. This is going to be a big deal for him. Gorsuch made the Supreme Court a conservative majority. Now we're going to go to the federal bench, so he's going to get what he wants done with these judges. Big deal for him.
I mean, remember we showed a picture once of the strategy room at the White House, and Steve Bannon was in there being interviewed, and behind him there was this huge list of things to do. And one of the prominent things on that list was to fill these judicial positions. I mean, it falls under every president's purview, Richard, and it is their right to do so.
It is Donald Trump's right, and I don't know why Democrats are alarmed, because that's what he said he was going to do. So what you can expect for the viewers at home, the more proliferation of guns, discriminations against the LGBTQ community, the disenfranchisement of voting rights, and the laundry list continues from conservative justices. You will once again see them do the same things that
Are
they've
those
been
going to
doing.
be the priorities, David?
No.
Yeah, of course
No,
it is.
there's
What
going to be,
else are
first
they
of all,
gonna do?
Mr. Trump has made it very clear that he wants to protect LGBTQ rights. He wants to protect the Second Amendment rights, First Amendment rights, and listen, as far as protecting the homeland, what could be more critical? He knows that he has the executive power by statute to implement a temporary travel ban. Any judge who's non-political knows that. That's what's going to happen next. It'll have to go to the Supreme Court, but it'll go to a Supreme Court that understands the simple letter of the law. He can implement the travel ban.
You're absolutely right. He's going to ban Muslims, and he's going to discriminate against gay people. That's what these type of judges do. They've done it over and over again.
Never going to
I gotta
happen.
leave it there, guys. I'm sorry. I'm out of time. Sorry to cut you off.
It is.
Richard, David, good to see you both. So tonight, another provocation by North Korea as they take one more step towards fueling a successful rocket that could put U.S. lives in danger. This, as friends and family gather today to remember the life of Otto Warmbier, who was killed by the North Koreans. Up next, we'll be joined by a pair of congressmen targeting the Hermit Nation.
Having moderate to severe plaque psoriasis is not always easy. It's a long-distance run, and you have the determination to keep going. Humira has a proven track record of being prescribed for nearly 10 years. Humira works inside the body to target and help block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to symptoms. In clinical trials, most adults taking Humira were clear or almost clear, and many saw 75% and even 90% clearance in just 4 months.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Join over 250,000 people who have chosen Humira. Ask about the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists. Humira, and go.
Introducing new Parodontax, the toothpaste that helps prevent bleeding gums. If you spit blood when you brush or floss, you may have gum problems and could be on the journey to much worse. Help stop the journey of gum disease. Try new Parodontax toothpaste.
Remember when every new fork on the trail led to a new adventure? Then keep the tradition going at Bass Pro Shops with great deals like this 10-person tunnel tent with porch for under $200, plus free family activities and crafts.
Tonight, is the party over? After their latest loss, whether Democrats can turn themselves around. Plus, insight from Charles Krauthammer on Tucker Carlson Tonight.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need or can't afford? Now you can sell your policy for an immediate payment.
We bought life insurance when our kids were young to protect their future.
Our youngest just turned 40, and we no longer needed the coverage.
That got us to thinking about letting our policy go. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. I learned that you could sell all or part of a life insurance policy, even a term life policy. Turns out, people have been selling policies like ours for the past 15 years. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we have money to help with the medical bills.
And to add to our retirement.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be a candidate to sell your policy.
Call 1-800-515-4100 or visit CoventryDirect.com for a free information packet. 1-800-515-4100.
Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-650-4157.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-650-4157, or visit SoClean.com today. Also on the story tonight, a heartbreaking final farewell to student Otto Warmbier, who died this week after being released from his captors in North Korea. Thousands of mourners lined the streets of his hometown in Ohio today, where he was remembered as being the nicest kid who had a bright future ahead of him. That's his family on the right in that picture. We know that he suffered severe brain injuries while he was in custody, and it has outraged many, including our nation's leaders. A bipartisan pair of lawmakers are trying to prevent other Americans from facing a similar fate. They join me now, California Democrat Adam Schiff and South Carolina Republican Joe Wilson. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Obviously a very difficult day in Wyoming, Ohio today, but you are trying to have something good come out of this. Congressman Schiff, tell us about this legislation.
Well, the legislation would require a license to visit North Korea, and it would essentially ban one category, that is tourist travel. Tourist travel exposes American citizens to great risk and harm. We saw obviously just how tragic that can be.
I have a number of songs I've been recording.
But it also provides a source of hard currency for North Korea. It allows the North to take Americans hostage and use them as bargaining chips to compel high-level delegation visits to try to retrieve American citizens. So this is something that we want to do more to discourage. I want to thank my colleague Joe Wilson for all of his leadership on this issue, and our Foreign Affairs Chairman Ed Royce for agreeing to take up the bill. It is a very bipartisan work product, and I think its time has certainly tragically come.
Yeah. Let's listen to this from the president last night in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
But you look at North Korea, what's going. Look at Otto, beautiful Otto. Went over there a healthy, wonderful boy.
Well.
And you see how he came back.
It's like this isn't going to work.
You see how he came back. So we've been given a bad hand, but we're going to take that bad hand, and it'll all be good.
Congressman Wilson, how would this bill that you're proposing hurt North Korea?
Well, I'm really grateful it would require a license before tourists could visit North Korea. Currently, people can visit at any time, but this would limit the persons. They would have to have a license from the U.S. Department of Treasury, and it would provide for humanitarian efforts, but not for tourism. Tourism only benefits the communist totalitarian dictatorship, and I'm just so proud of President Donald Trump pointing out his deep affection for Otto Warmbier and his family. The American people have been so tragically affected by this murder of just a wonderful UVA student.
You know, obviously we've seen a lot of escalation, a lot of missile tests coming from North Korea. Today we had a failed missile interceptor test off of Hawaii. You know, Congressman Schiff, in terms of how that part of this tension is going, you know, this bill have any impact on that, or what do you expect from the president when it comes to that in the face of the death of Otto Warmbier and the new resolve to be stronger against this regime?
Well, I think this bill certainly signals a willingness in the United States to do whatever we need to do to crack down on North Korea, to, in this case, deprive North Korea of this hard currency as well as the opportunity to exploit to the president's American citizens. But there's a lot more that we need to do, as the president has alluded, and as our Secretary of State underscored recently. There's a lot more that China can do, really needs to do. China has the primary economic leverage on North Korea. I think we're going to have to make it clear to China that unless they do more, we're going to have to impose secondary sanctions on Chinese financial institutions, expand theater missile defense, expand our naval presence. Those are steps we don't necessarily want to take, but we'll have to.
I mean, there's not a ton of tourism in North Korea, but I understand, you know, the meaning behind what you're trying to do and to prevent anyone from seeing the same fate that Otto Warmbier saw when he visited that country. There are still other individuals that are there. There are 3 other Americans. What can be done in Congress? Are you putting pressure on this situation, Representative Wilson, to try to bring them home and use this as some sort of leverage?
And sadly, we've had 17 Americans that have been held by the North Koreans over the last 10 years, and 3 still are in custody. And we will be making every effort, and I appreciate the extraordinary efforts of President Trump working with President Xi of China, that every effort will be made to bring
Everybody
these
says that
persons
guy's
home,
name differently.
to protect American citizens, and any way that, and hey, this is a classic example of bipartisanship that the American people need to see. A Republican from South Carolina, a Democrat from California. The American people are united against the dictatorship in Pyongyang.
It's good to see both of you tonight.
I call him Emperor Zhe.
Coming up next, a story from Wyoming, Ohio, is our quote of the night.
These are the faces of arthritis, and when they have pain, they turn to Australian Green. Here's why they love it.
Australian Green doesn't burn, and there's no odor.
There's real medicine in there. It's effective pain relief.
I bought it because of the money-back guarantee. I keep buying it because it works.
If you're one of the faces of arthritis, get Australian Green. It's effective relief for arthritis, backed by the empty jar guarantee. Australian Green, real medicine, trusted relief.
You totaled your brand new car. Nobody's hurt, but there will still be pain. It comes when your insurance company says they'll only pay 3/4 of what it takes to replace it. What are you supposed to do? Drive 3/4 of a car? Now, if you had Liberty Mutual new car replacement, you'd get your whole car back. I guess they don't want you driving around on 3 wheels. Smart.
With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car. Liberty stands with you.
Liberty Mutual Insurance.
The Honda Perfect Accord sales event is your chance to get an incredible deal on the Accord, which has been named to Car and Driver's 10 Best list a record-breaking 31 times. To celebrate, we have amazing offers on the Honda Accord, which has a 5-star overall vehicle score. The Honda Accord is also the best-selling car in its class. Race in to the Honda Perfect Accord sales event and get a great deal on the Accord today at your Honda dealer.
Sandals. At last, an all-inclusive that truly includes it all. Sandals, the world's only 5-star luxury included resorts. Save up to 65%. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Here you go, little guy. A cockroach can survive submerged underwater for 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Not getting in today. Not on my watch.
Pests never stop trying to get in. We never stop working to keep them out. Terminix, defenders of home.
Diabetes can be a daily struggle, even if you're trying your best. Along with diet and exercise, once daily Toujeo may help you control your blood sugar. Get into a daily groove. From the makers of Lantus, Toujeo provides blood sugar lowering activity for 24 hours and beyond. Proven blood sugar control all day and all night, and significant A1C reduction. Toujeo is used to control high blood sugar in adults with diabetes. It contains 3 times as much insulin in 1 milliliter as standard insulin. Don't use Toujeo to treat diabetic ketoacidosis during episodes of low blood sugar or if you're allergic to insulin. Get medical help right away if you have a serious allergic reaction, such as body rash.
Willing to work with the Democrats. Golly. You're kidding. Oh, hello? Yeah, Teal, I'm sure. I don't need to go to the kid's birthday party. Okay. You hear this? That's madness. It's ridiculous to think so. My logic is undeniable.
Hi, my name is SwanDezvous. If you're watching this video right now, this is part of my campaign to get my next project funded. I have a number of songs that I've been recording and writing over the course of years. I am a local Oregon.
We'll just have to do voiceover. Thanks, phone, for being a piece of garbage.
I'm doing right now.
I don't want to put out a fucking here, hey, Daniel fucking message.
I'm Sean Lewis, and I am the lead singer of Auburn, and this is our recording studio. Isn't that impressive? There's Waldo. Make no mistake. There's Michael. He's my friend. He's gonna try to do the cover, and if he messes it up, he's fired. Settled.
I could be fired now.
No, I want you to be part of my plan.
I want.
Wow. Old stuff here. Looks like I'm in the wrong deal. Oh, there it is. Boom.
So while that thing's bouncing, I think I'm done with Auburn recording for today. I'll probably move on to my solo project. Right now I'm working on a solo album.
That was a cool shirt.